The new Vintage Chic Stamp TV kit contains 2 stamps that can be used to create decorative corners for your cards and scrapbook projects. Today, I'm going to show you how to put these stamps into action to create a beautiful gold embossed frame. Here are the tools and products you're going to need to do this technique. First, you're going to need the 2 corner stamps, and you'll notice in this kit that we did create a left and a right version, so this way you can do all 4 corners because they're not symmetrical, so you do need both stamps. Then you're going to need some embossing powder, and I'm using the Ranger Superfine Detail Gold. You're going to need an anti-static pad to remove oil and dust from your projects before you're ready to emboss. You're going to need a Versamark pad. I like to use a Stamp-A-Majig for this technique because I just want these stamps to be perfect. And even if you were using clear stamps, I would still recommend using a Stamp-A-Majig to get this precise when you're doing this kind of thing. You're going to need a black memento pad, and that's to index the index sheet for the Stamp-A-Majig. You're going to need a piece of cardstock, and what I have here is I have a piece of the cranberry cardstock that came in the Stamp TV kit, the new Vintage Chic kit, and I've cut this to 3 1/4 inches by 5 inches. And then you're going to need a little bit of adhesive. To begin, I'm going to index my Stamp-A-Majig imaging sheet with the first corner that I'm going to use. And you've seen me do this before. That is going to create the image. And then, of course, you want to clean your stamp off afterwards because you're using Versamark for the actual ink for the project. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of tape on the back, and I'm going to tape my piece of cardstock down onto my work surface. This way, if my Stamp-A-Majig goes off of my project, I don't have to worry about the piece of cardstock moving. Now I'm rubbing that anti-static pad all over the surface of my cardstock to remove any oils. And then I'm going to position my imaging sheet exactly where I want my corner to be. Now that I have that into place, I'm going to replace the tool, and I'm going to ink up my stamp using the Versamark pad. Holding that tool in place, I'm going to remove the imaging sheet and stamp my corner. Now, I'm going to turn that around, and I'm going to do the other side the same way. And I'm going to work quickly because I don't want my Versamark to dry, although it does take a while for it to dry. And even though I'm laying the tool on top, I'm not moving the tool all around, so it's not going to cause anything to smear. Ink up that stamp again, and stamp the opposite corner. Now, using a scratch piece of paper, I am going to pour that gold embossing powder over those 2 corners. And blow away any excess. Now I'm going to emboss. It's a little bit hard to see the gold on the cranberry until it starts to come up with the embossing starts to heat up, but then you can really see it. It really looks pretty. Isn't that so bright and vibrant? Turn it around. And do the other corner. Now that by itself is a really pretty look, just having those 2 corners accented. But I want to do a complete frame, so let me replace that embossing powder for now and get it out of the way. Now I'm going to wipe off the image here from my imaging sheet with just a little bit of water and dry it off. And now I'm going to create the opposite corner image using the Stamp-A-Majig and some black memento ink. And again, want to clean off that stamp, because I don't want to get any of that black ink onto my Versamark. And just touch up that tape on the back, and I am ready to do the other two corners now. So find the perfect spot there and replace that Stamp-A-Majig tool. Okay. Ink up my stamp. And stamp it. And now I'm going to turn that around, do the same thing on the opposite side. Oops, my cardstock did move a little bit there. Okay, place my tool, ink up the stamp, and stamp it. And then once again, using the embossing powder, I'm going to emboss those final two corners. Make sure there's no excess anywhere. And you can see how pretty this looks. The gold really pops out on that cranberry cardstock. So pretty. And now I've created a beautiful decorative frame that I can stamp any kind of image inside, or I can add a die cut image inside. And let me show you my finished card project. What I've done here is I've used two more of the stamps from the Vintage Chic kit. I used the key and the greeting, "Good friends are the key to a great life." And then to make my frame match, what I've done is I've just used the small nestabilities and the large nestabilities in the classic ovals, and I've cut them both out in ivory. And then I just rubbed Versamark ink all around the outside perimeter there of that large oval underneath, and sprinkled embossing powder on it and heated it up. I do have a video on Stamp TV with that technique if you're looking for it, creating a metallic frame, and it'll show you exactly how to do that. What's nice about that is if you don't have metallic cardstock, but you want to have a piece of metallic cardstock behind your focal image, or if you don't have the right color, this perfectly matches my gold embossing because it's created from the same powder. Try this technique around photographs or on painted wooden frames to create beautiful home decor. And if you just can't seem to find your mojo, create a bunch of these panels and put them away for later use.